Welcome to the broadcast. And today's broadcast is about Ready to Love, Season 5, Episode 4. And let's welcome in Alex.
Hey, Aubrey, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me?
It was kind of in and out there for a second, but yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. How's everybody doing? What's the good
Alex?
word? Yes. Am I going in and out?
Yeah, all right. No, I think you're okay.
Okay.
So you were going to say about last week's episode?
Yeah, I was saying how's everybody doing out there in television and podcast land. But because we're a little bit behind schedule. We missed this week. We supposed to do one earlier in the week. Didn't get a chance to do it, but we're gonna get caught up real quick on this one here.
Yep.
Uh,
So the last week's episode was that the one where we saw our friendly, beloved Cornelius go home?
yes, that's when we saw the Muffin Man go home last week. And
The the Muffin Man.
yeah,
Okay.
the Muffin Man went home. The Muffin Man went home, and we had two new entries last week. There was Eric the chef, and then there was AP Austin, the holistic life coach. Those were the blind.
Right. And
Those were the blind
what did
dates.
and what right, what did you think about AP? What was your first impressions of her?
Um, I liked her at first. Very sophisticated looking, very sophisticated acting woman. Didn't seem to
Mhm.
be about a whole didn't seem to be about a whole lot of drama and stuff like that. So, at first
Mhm.
glance, attractive, sophisticated. So I kind of like what I saw.
Yeah, I thought she was really very pretty too. I thought she was pretty. I thought she was cute and everything, but I was just a little concerned when I heard the widowed part.
Yeah,
Were
yeah.
you at
That's
all were you at all concerned?
I'm concerned with the widow part because it's grieving is different for everybody. I can relate a little bit to that. And it's different times for everybody, how they grieve and so forth. But if you're going to continue to bring that up in your dates, in your casual conversations, in your everyday living, if people have to constantly hear about you being a widow when your husband passed away, it might be some question as to whether or not you're past the incident or not, or you totally healed or
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that too. I think that is very it can be a little discombobulating for the person that's trying to date you. I mean, I don't think it's anything that you necessarily need. You don't need to hide it, but I don't think it would be my first go to. Um, and I definitely wouldn't try to get into a whole lot of details about it unless we got further along in the dating process. Because I kind of liken it to, even though I know some people will disagree with me on this perhaps, but this is just my opinion. I kind of liken it into just any other ex. So you've got an ex-boyfriend, an ex-husband, or whatever, and now you're out here, you're trying to date and find love again. Ain't nobody trying to hear about your ex. I don't care. I don't care about her.
not. Right, right,
I
right.
really don't. I don't care. I mean, like, unless you were beating on her, were you beating her up or something? Were you emotionally abusing her? I mean,
Right.
those kind of things I care about. But other than that, I don't care if she was short or tall. I think oftentimes what happens with people who are widowed, and I know because I've personally dated someone and was in a serious relationship with someone who was widowed and belonged to a support group for women who were dating widowers. The thing that tends to happen is that person oftentimes wants to compare their deceased spouse or boyfriend or long-term partner with you. They want to compare you to that person. Like, Do you cook like them? Do you look like them? Do you walk like them? Oh yeah, me and my late spouse, we went such and such a place. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. Ain't nobody
Hmm.
trying to hear that.
Yeah, well, no
Just
one
like
was.
men have. Go ahead.
No, I said no one wants to be compared to an ex, alive or dead, for that matter.
Correct. Correct. And you know what? Just like I think the thing that people forget, men sometimes forget, is just like men have egos about dating and comparisons, so do women. We don't want to be on that train.
Hmm. Right,
So
right.
I wasn't really sure. I think what I saw with her in the first week, last week's episode, I think I was a little concerned because first of all, she told Clifton that he reminded her of her brother. And I was like, well, who does that on a date?
Well, the minute she said that, for all intents and purposes, the date was over. Because
Exactly.
you're putting him in a friend zone. You're putting him in a family thing. Is almost an incestuous comment. You look like my brother. Therefore, we can never be intimate. And if we were intimate, I'm seeing my brother, which is kind of creepy in itself. So that would have ended the date right there for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing I thought. I mean, like, and then, I think Clifton very, very gracefully tried to give her a out because he said, well, how do I remind you of your brother? Is it my beard? Just trying to give her a out because she could have said, well, yeah, you're right. Cause you guys just have a beard and that's all it is. So a lot of different men could have beards and then that doesn't make them necessarily look like your brother. But when she couldn't really answer, she said something about the shape of his face. Well, everybody's face is pretty much shaped the same. It's all a round circle.
right, right. But she did the same thing
That's
to she did the same thing to young Wiley. You look like one of my students. So I'm trying to figure out with her doing this, is she really ready to date? Is she really over her deceased ex? That's the question I have.
Yeah, and that's when I thought you're right. Exactly. When she was on the bus ride, that tour they took, and she said that Wiley reminded her of her students. I was like, okay, that's two shots, lady. You got one more, and you're pushing that.
Right, exactly. So hi
Yes,
Charlene
I'm with.
Hill.
Yeah, hey Charlene, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the support. Um, so anyway, so what was the other? So what about Eric? What did you think about him? He was the one that's the celebrity chef, right?
Yeah, he's a celebrity chef. He makes a pretty good living. He's using his parents as a marital example because they've been together forever. They're still together. His parents are still together. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
that
said
was
they
nice.
he says they still tickle each other and laugh and goof around and do that kind of stuff, which is wonderful. And I guess he's looking for the same thing. And of course,
Right.
his blind date was with Dakia, and because she's aesthetically pleasing, she's very open. She got a great personality. Okay, he was kind of drawn into her immediately, but of course, he got to see what else is out there if he's going to be part of the show. So, but Eric seems like a cool guy. I'm not sure how I'm not going to say aggressive, or how forthright he can be in pursuing these other women, because he seemed to get stuck on one, and he'll get stuck there. So that's what I'm
Mhm.
watching with him.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he was interesting. I liked he had a lot, he gave a lot of information very quickly, which I really liked that. I thought that was a nice thing for dating is that you present who you are, what you do and these types of things and a person doesn't have to pull teeth to get it out of you. But the interesting thing was funny though last week was that who was that? Dakia that was on the date with him, everything he said, she kept saying, "Me too, me too." Like, he said, I used to be, I was an engineer. And she's like, well, so am I. And then he said, well, I'm a systems engineer. And she said, well, so am I. I work for NASA. And then he said, well, I was taking care of my uncle who had cancer. And she said, so did I. I'm a cancer survivor.
Right, right, right,
I was
right.
like, whoa, like, yeah,
I'm like,
come on,
I'm like,
Dakia, calm down and let the man talk. Because a couple of times she kind of cut him off, don't you think?
Yeah, like what is a match made in heaven here? What is this? Me too, me too, me too. You know, I don't know if this is a date or the Me Too movement. What is it here going on here? You know,
Yeah,
so
it was. Yeah, I thought she. I think what it was, what it felt like to me, though. To be fair to her, it felt like she hadn't been on a date with somebody like him that she connected with. That was so. I mean, he presented very well. I mean, like on paper and in person, he was sharply dressed. He was good looking. So I could understand, like it's like the first time. Um. Oh, hey, Demita. Hi, Demita Joe. Yeah, yeah, she did do that. Yeah, I felt like, she was excited. I've been on dates and I've done something very similar. Like you just really caught up with, like, after going on a whole lot of like dates that end up being like zeros, and then when you go on a date that's pushing toward a 10, you kind of get excited and you kind of get beside yourself and you kind of get in front of yourself. So I could relate to it, but I thought, yeah, kind of calm down, take a deep breath, do the woosah, come back in and center yourself and allow this man to talk to you, because we always say as women, a lot of times we say, well, the man doesn't, they don't talk, they're not communicative, they're not expressive. He was really expressing himself well, but she kept cutting him off.
right, right, exactly. You know, so but I think the date went well. I think he's enamored with her, but
Hmm.
at the same time, he has to see what else is out there. And I think he had a nice
Right.
time at the paint date thing. Um, didn't know
Oh
the other
yeah.
women there. Didn't know the other women there. So that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
also about that episode, before we move on to last night's episode, um, I think I want to get to, was Cornelius the right choice to go home, and I think he was, and I have my reasons for that. And also, I
Well,
want to
go
get
ahead
to
and
the, yeah.
mhm.
Let me cover that. I think
Yeah, just go,
Cornelius,
go ahead and get to it, because we want to get this out the way and get on
yeah,
to last night's episode. Okay.
yeah. I think Cornelius should have went home for one reason. Okay, when they was at the
Hmm.
paint date, they was at the paint date, the group date with the paint. He was talking to the Kia, and the Kia was telling him, "Listen, I'm looking for my lifetime partner. I'm looking for my commitment. My this and that." And
Hmm.
he made a comment that she's talking long term commitment or whatever, and I was kind of taken aback by that. How are you taken aback by that? That's what everybody's
Right,
doing the
right.
damn show.
You're on a whole show called Ready to Love. Did you miss that part?
You know what I mean? So you take aback by that, you got no business there. Period. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think them sending him home was the right choice. What do you think about that?
It was a good choice. Of course, you know who I'm always rooting to go home. As long as he's there, I'll be rooting for Paul to go home. Bye, Paul.
Yeah,
Bye, Pio.
yeah,
You didn't deliver this time. But you know what? I've kind of already figured it out. Paul's going to be with us for a while. He's probably going to make it to the end. And I say that because of just simply looking at what they're showing, what's coming up. He's already
right,
at the house with whatever they're having, which is generally toward the end. So we're stuck with Paul, right, Demita Joe? We're stuck with
yeah,
him. So, oh well. Okay, so
yeah.
did we get everything out the way basically for last week, and we're gonna move forward?
Real quick, another point, and I want to say hi to Demeter Joe. Um, the other thing I want to say is just quickly the date with Joy and Clifton, and of
Hmm.
course she almost killed him
Oh,
with the coconut. Okay,
right, right, right,
so
right. He
so, you,
he
so
had he bit on, something that had what, like some coconut oil or something in it.
right, so we almost had death by coconut, you know, on that. But I
I
think was
I want I wanted to know, does he carry an EpiPen with him? Because if you have an allergy to something, man, you should have that EpiPen with you 24/7 at all times.
that's a good point. He probably should have it because
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, you talking about your
he
throat gonna close up and you can't breathe. You need to have that EpiPen with you. I'm fortunate. I'm not allergic to anything, so I don't need one. But if I needed one, I would have one. It's just like if you have asthma, you have to have that what
the
is it
asthma pump,
called?
the asthma pump, you know.
There's
But
another name for it, but yeah, but we could call it that for now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so he had that allergic reaction. And then they started speaking about their father's passing. And Joy really touched me when she said that her mother left early, and it was just her and her dad, you know. And
Mhm.
although he wasn't very much a nurturer, she knew she was cared for, and it was him and her
Mhm.
all the time. It was him and her all the time, which I can really relate to because that's me right now with my daughter. Okay,
Hmm.
so she's 11, and it's basically me and her all the time. She's only going to know dad, kind of thing, through the rest of her life
Mm.
because her mom is gone. So that
Yeah.
that kind of that kind of touched me, and she was getting choked up about it, speaking about
Mhm.
her dad, and then Clifton was from
Right.
behind. The Clifton was from her dad passed away, so they have that in common, and they have a lot in common. And I think that they built a much stronger bond, and that's why to each other, they are each other's number one right now. It's going to take a special person to pull Clifton away or to pull Joy away.
Or a sexy person the way Clifton acts, because I think that he likes our girl Joy, but I don't know. Sometimes he acts like he's a little bit of a horn dog. I don't know. But anyway, but it looks like Miss Creative. Hey there, Miss Creative. She's saying that's the word I was looking for. She's saying it's called an inhaler. When you have asthma, it's called an
Right,
inhaler.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I think that it was very Joy showed her vulnerability, but what I didn't like, since you brought it up, I didn't like the fact that Clifton, he was like he makes these sexual jokes, like when she was talking to him and she said, "I could see some of me in you," and then he said, "Well, yeah, I could definitely see something of mine in you," which was
Mm.
very sexual. I didn't like that. I thought
Well,
that didn't really fit the moment, but I think that he doesn't, what I got out of that is that he doesn't handle his emotions well. So he couldn't really cry. He couldn't really be vulnerable in front of her. And I realized this early on, but I was just a little, I didn't like that.
Well, apparently it didn't bother her. They got this playful thing going on where they do sexual jokes and gestures back and forth anyway. So if it was a new
Hmm.
person that he was sitting, if it was a new person he was sitting there with, I probably would agree that that's
Hmm.
inappropriate because it's Joy. They've been doing this since the first episode. So I don't see it as being out of line
Yeah.
with Joy.
Yeah, no, like I said, I didn't say I'm not saying it's all like it's just me. That's my preference, and I don't have to argue it or debate it. That's how I feel. But so anyway, so that was last week's episode. So moving forward
Yep.
to this week, right?
Yep. What you got?
Okay, so
You get to start.
we yeah, so we see the gentlemen meeting in the lounge, having their get together, and Tommy's talking to them about, hey, 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 there's going to be another one new man, one new woman. That's Tommy. And so he gives it over to exactly as I thought he would. He turns it over to the blind date on the men's side. He turns it over to young Wiley because we see Wiley struggling to find someone to date because Wiley's only 32, and while there's a couple of women that are 34, 33, 35-ish, that's still they're looking for older men. They're looking for more established men. They're looking for a different type of man, I guess. And even though he says he likes older women, but so they send Wiley on the date, and he meets the beautiful, gorgeous Christina. What did you think of Christina, the new girl?
First of all, why you gotta make Tommy sound like Fat Albert? Hey, hey,
I don't know. That's my best impersonation. Okay, I couldn't. That's how Tommy sounds to me, even though he's a
hey.
slim guy.
Now I'm showing my age with Fat Albert, but that's how you make Tommy sound. Oh my goodness. But
Uh, so, what did you
but
think of Christina?
um, it's obviously she's very attractive. The first
Hmm.
thing that stood out to me, obviously, when she showed up, that her boobs were about to fall out that blouse. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well,
Um,
okay, all right.
Aubrey, Aubrey, if she would have coughed, it would have popped out. You know. So she had no wiggle room.
we
She
got we
had
got
no
a tough crowd here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
she had no wiggle room in that blouse whatsoever.
What do you
He's
mean no wiggle room? Oh, it was tight. It was just that tight. Is
yeah,
that what you're
it was
saying?
tight. Yeah, he was
Oh
tight.
yeah,
But
it was definitely tight, and about 40% of her breastises, as some people call them,
right,
breastises
right,
were exposed. I mean, like if she had sneezed, I think we would have turned into a R-rated show.
right. This would have been a Janet Jackson Super Bowl moment. You know what I mean?
Right. I
So,
mean, I guess the girl wanted to be sexy. I don't know.
but you know what's
Uh,
interesting? You know what's interesting about it? Well,
what's that?
Miss Creative is saying she's not 31. There's no way, maybe 41. Oh,
No, Miss Creative. I don't see that. But you know what I will say that I've noticed this season? All of these heavy wigs that the women are wearing, and I understand about TV and filming and how it looks better and is more cohesive because they're filming in the summer and you can get the best hairstylist and you have the best hairdo, but in the summer in the humidity in DC, your hair will just fall, right? And we saw that with Sabrina on the mixer earlier this season, episode 1. But I think that it's not that she's 41. I don't think, even though I think there are some discrepancies with age, like for example, Paul being 48. I don't buy that either. But I think this young lady is probably in her early 30s, but I really do feel like these jet black wigs that people are wearing, jet black doesn't look good on very many people, first of all. Like you have to have red undertones in your skin to even wear black hair. So I think that's the thing that makes her look older because if you go to some of their Instagram pages and you see them in their everyday attire, they look their age. Like she looks her age.
mm,
You
yeah.
know, so that's what I think. What about you? What do you think, Alex? Do you think she's in her 30s or what?
Well, I definitely think she's in her 30s. I don't think she's hit 40 yet. I'm not gonna be as
Mm-mm.
brutal as Miss Creative is being at the moment. But I just think that if you've gone to the Facebook page today, the Ready to Love Facebook page, they really had a lot to say about her. As far as I guess the bronze stuff on her skin, the coloring, the colored contacts, her boobs popping out. I mean, if they really went in to the point where her mother got into the chat on Facebook to defend her daughter. It was really, really something to see. And you guys, if you haven't seen that today, you probably should go after the broadcast and check out the Facebook page for Ready to Love and read some of the comments. But I think she's a very attractive young lady. Um, Obviously, there's some things to be desired. We have to see and see how this thing play out.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Miss Creative says that Paul is 61. You say he's retirement age, huh? Oh, they're trying to date the women in their 20s. Oh my lord.
So yeah,
Men
he,
look ridiculous sometimes when they're trying to be so extra. They look really ridiculous. They don't realize how foolish they look.
he ready for Social Security. I guess that's what Miss Creative is saying. You know,
I don't mind because she's saying it about Paul, and everybody knows I don't like Paul.
yeah, right.
But
You
yeah.
know what?
So they
You know what?
what?
I'm gonna get Paul to come on the show.
Oh no! Oh no! Don't make me interview Paul. You bring Keena on, or Tiffany,
Uh,
or even Precious, and I think Precious is special too. But
yeah,
oh
yeah,
no!
she's
I
special.
tell you what, it'll be your podcast for the day if you bring him on the show.
Oh my goodness. But I think
But
I think Tina's date with Wiley went well. I think he appreciated supposedly having someone near his age group, in his age group or whatever. Um,
hmm
and I think they clicked, you know,
they
and it
did.
went, yeah, and it went well.
They did. Yeah, they did. It did seem to go well. Okay, so then what about the next blind date? You got the new guy. What's his name? The
That was
new guy that
Donovan.
came in. Donovan. Yeah,
Donovan.
Donovan. Oh my God, what a looker. Oh my goodness. I got all hot and steamy when I saw him. He
Oh
is
my,
gorgeous. But
yeah,
I'm
he
not so
was.
sure how I feel. I'm not so sure how I feel. What do you think? Do you have your nose pierced? Are you into the piercings?
I'm not into none of that. I mean, I got my
You
I
are
got
you
I
are you
got
a old are you a OG? Is that what it is?
it really is. I'm an OG. I mean, I got my left ear pierced when I was 18 years old. You know,
Oh,
this,
really? Okay.
this was a long time ago, and back when I was a kid, if you pierced the right ear and the left ear, or if you pierced the right ear, that meant you were, of the gay persuasion. So nobody wouldn't pierce the right ear. The left ear, meant you were heterosexual and all that kind of stuff. And this is going way
Mhm.
back. I was 18 years old. That's what that meant to people.
Right. I
So
remember that. I do recall it. I mean, not not what you're saying about for men. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But as far as piercing your nose for a man and piercing your belly buttons and no, come on now. It just that's just too much.
Well, you didn't drop down to the belly button. Now, if I see a man with a belly with his belly button pierced, which there's no reason I should see him with his belly button unless we're on the beach, because like that's not a first date type of thing that you see somebody half clothed like that. But if he's got his belly button pierced, yeah, I'm definitely thinking I need to get away from him. And
Yeah,
I'm not really into all this earrings for men. Like you said, I'm a OG. I'm a OG. I'm old school. So all of this stuff that's going on now, it's like, all right, y'all knock yourselves out, have fun, and I'm
right.
just glad I'm
And
not
then
dating
also,
anybody that's in that age bracket because I don't find it appealing at all.
yeah. And Donovan, he's a realtor. These people got these different professions. Tina is an esthetician. Okay,
Hmm.
Donovan is a realtor, and he was married 12 years prior to coming on the
Right,
show.
right. That
So
I just thought of the lady's name. I couldn't think of her name. Precious. He was on the blind date with Precious, and
yeah, he's on
Precious
the line
seems like
with
what did you think of Precious' behavior? Like if you were out on a date with a woman like Precious, and she was kind of coming on really hard and heavy to him. Guys, do me a favor, please. Please and thank you. Please click the like button, okay? And if you aren't subscribed, please consider joining and subscribing to my channel. So what did you think about Precious, just being so forward? Was that something that how would you have handled yourself with that?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna answer that in a second. Miss Creative, please elaborate on. We got another fluid man on the show. What do you mean by that exactly? But um, Precious came on very strong with Donovan, and I think it turned him off a little bit. Yeah, he was kind of
Mm-hmm.
unsettled. He was kind of unsettled. You can see that in his behavior, that he didn't know where this was
Right.
coming from. He was like being taken by storm or whatever the case was, and he wasn't very comfortable. With Precious
Mm-mm.
coming on the way she was coming on. So um, we'll see. But
Well,
Precious period in this episode, she
well,
was
well,
off the deep.
can I okay, before we move on into further into the episode, can I say something, add something to this particular date we're discussing? I was gonna say, like Precious mentioned during the date with Donovan, that she had not been in a relationship for something like what, 8, 9 years, and
Yeah, she
that
did.
she had right, and that she had been celibate for like 6 months. So do you think maybe that had something to do with why she was verbally just sparring with him so sexually and so overly with such strong sexual content?
Yeah, I think she's horny. I mean, I don't. It took over. You see
Yeah,
her, man.
yeah, it did. It really
She
did,
said
and it rears its head later on in the episode too.
right. She saw a man sitting across from her that was attractive. They were one on one. Their hormones started jumping. She's been celibate, so she just let it all hang out. You know, and like I was just saying, she was off the chain for the entire episode with these sexual gestures and overtones and blurting out things and spanking people on the behind and all this stuff.
Was that Clifton? She later on at the pool party, she told Clifton to bend over, and she took the water hose and kind of gently, kind of playfully tried to spank his behind.
That was Clifton. And here's the funny part: he bent over to let her
Was
do it.
that? Yeah, I was a little surprised at that, but I think he kind of has, like you said, he kind of has a playful side to him too, so he probably didn't mind. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like I'm kind of gobsmacked that she was just so sexually forward. Like I feel like this day and age for women, if you're not sexually gratified in a relationship, there are so many ways that you can take care of that, if you will, without being graphic and keeping this a PG-13 show. I think
Right.
there's just so many ways that you can take care of your needs, and you don't have to come on a date and just be like, really chuck the date away, because if the show is ready to love, and if the premise we assume is that you're looking for a serious relationship, long-term relationship, perhaps leading to marriage, I don't think that putting yourself out there sexually is the way to get that. What
But
do you
I
think?
think,
You're a guy, so what do you think?
yeah, and that's exactly right. I'm a guy, and I think Precious thinks in order to get the guy's attention, to get more than one guy, more than two or three or four guys' attention, she has to be very sexual to get this attention. And that's what she decided she's going to do. Now
Mm.
the question is, if she's acting like that with all the guys, it can turn all the guys off because no one is feeling special in that regard. You're doing it to everybody, so nobody's feeling special, and I think that's where she's going to miss it. And I think that's why she was in the bottom two when the episode ended.
You jump ahead. You jump ahead a lot. That's okay. But I think, like you said, though, I think first of all it made the guys uncomfortable. And you're doing it to all of the guys. I don't really get the point of that. And then here's the kicker part. We're talking about Precious. And for maybe those viewers that haven't seen the episode yet, or haven't even seen the show this season and just come on and listen to our podcast, thank you very much. We appreciate your views. Here's the thing. Precious is a gorgeous young woman. So she don't have to do none of that. None of that. So that's
If
what I don't really understand. I'm beginning to get kind of concerned about her well-being, because I just don't get any of that. You're young, you're tall, you're beautiful, um, you're gorgeous, you have a nice figure, you have a beautiful smile. I mean, what more is there? Like, what, you just come on the show and be yourself. Like, why do you have to
maybe,
do all that extra?
maybe that's who she is, though. If that's who she is, that's who she is. You know, the more
I don't really get that. I don't really get that from her, but it could be. It could be that really is who she is, and that might be why she's still single.
because
Because
you got to
it's
understand.
not very attractive. It's not very attractive.
Well, you got to understand something. The more people last throughout week by week by week, the more comfortable they get and settle into being themselves. And we start to see that
Mm.
more and more as the weeks go on. That the real person, please stand up, as they would say. And that's what we're going to see as these weeks go on. So I think in some ways it's who she is. Maybe production is pushing some of that behavior. I don't know. But that remains to be seen. You just gotta wait and see.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go back to the in the chat. We've got this conversation going on. I think we know, and I've talked about this, and I don't know, this is gonna maybe put me in the not so good point with the show, but I've said it before and I'll say it again for this show and other shows that I cover, including Married at First Sight. Why the producers or the people on the show find it necessary, or they're willing to have men come on the show who it sometimes appear that they're clearly not heterosexual, straight heterosexual men. They do that. But then, I got to thinking the other day, I said, we're not always sure about maybe even the women, because there are women that are bisexual, there are women that are gay. And would they come on the show as the same as some of these men that seem to sometimes find their way onto the show, and I'm going, wow, what's that really about? I mean, like, clearly this guy is not liking women like that. And we know that
Hmm.
last season we had a couple of them. So I don't
Right.
know, because yeah, so far as I'm watching this show, I got my eye on two of them at least. Like two of the guys
Yeah.
that I'm kind of like, nah, I wouldn't go out with you, brother. You just like, you look like you would maybe be dating me and then be checking out my brother over here, or my cousin, my male cousin. I'm not feeling that.
Right. And clearly, listen,
That,
this is
that's my
this.
opinion.
Yeah. And clearly, this is not bashing or taking shots at gay people. We're talking about a show that's
Mm-mm,
clearly
not at
supposed
all.
to. This will be a show that's clearly supposed to be for heterosexual people who want to date one another. Okay, that's what the
Hmm.
show is supposed to be. So if you have people that are on the show who question their sexuality or outright gay or bisexual, then maybe they shouldn't be on this particular show. There are other shows for that or whatever. So that's all we're saying. Because if somebody's on the show looking for a heterosexual relationship, looking to have children and make babies and so forth. That's who this show is for.
Yeah, at least that's our understanding of it, right?
Right, right,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Well, moving on, what do you think about, so we see Joy and what's this guy's name? Laverne, the one that always likes his behind squozing.
Yeah, is that a word? Squozing? Spell it. Spell that.
Anyway, squoze. Okay, squoze, squoze, squoze. Come on now, you did this last week. But we see them on a date. They're doing the pottery. He decides to take her. I guess he had listened to, which it sounds like it was really a thoughtful date for Joy, because she
Mhm,
really likes that kind of artsy stuff. Because of course she is a professional singer, so she's in the arts, and so he
mhm.
decided to take her, have her meet him at this pottery place where they're doing pottery, kind of like if you guys remember the scene from the movie Ghost. Is that the right movie with Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah, that's the one.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and Demi Moore and what's the other guy? What's it?
Patrick
Patrick
Swayze.
Swayze.
Mhm,
Right.
yeah.
So they're creating this bowl or vase or whatever, and he's behind her, and just like Patrick Swayze was with Demi Moore. And I thought it was a very fun date. What did you think about it?
Well, I think it's a very fun date that they was having. And even then, while they were doing this pottery, as we said earlier, they started going back and forth with these sexual undertones and or overtones, depending on how you want to look at it. And the way they were
Right, right,
squeezing,
right.
the way they were squeezing the pottery, and the way he had his hands in the hole, and all this stuff. They were making comments about these things. So um, I think it all depends on who you're with. You can't do certain things with everybody. Everything's not for everybody. But when you got a good feel of
Mhm.
who you're on a date, when you got a good feel of who you're on a date with, you probably can do certain things and feel more comfortable doing certain things. So I think they had a nice time.
Mm. Right. Yeah, I thought so. I thought they made it was a nice little, tete-a-tete, a little meeting. They were playful with one another. He actually didn't ask her to squeeze his behind, or at least they didn't. If they did, they cut it. They put it on the cutting room floor because we didn't see that.
Well, they had
Hey,
that they had
Kia,
that
how you doing?
well they had that gook all over their hands, so he wouldn't ask her in that moment. You know.
Oh, he was too worried about his trousers.
Right, exactly. That's
Okay,
exactly it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And okay, so then we move forward to the date with the widowed lady, AP, and the one that everybody seems to like, but I can't figure out why because I don't see anything about him. He's like a dud. Uh
uh, who did AP date?
Demetrius.
Demetrius,
Demetrius.
Mr. Chocolate Marine or whatever he was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not with that beard. I'm not liking that beard. I'm not into him. He's just kind of dry. I don't get it. I don't get it. I guess if people like chocolate men, he's supposed to be good looking. I'm not seeing it, but anyway, but he's on the date with her, and he kind of getting more to the in depth into the date. He picks up the exact same thing that I've been picking up about her that I feel like she's throwing down unintentionally, that she's just not ready to date because once again she starts in talking about the late husband. Snoozeville, lady, Snoozeville. Nobody trying to hear that.
hmm and
Nope.
also Demetrius said he just didn't feel the connection with her like he thought
Hmm.
he would feel. You don't feel a connection. That's what I'm saying. I
Well,
don't
you're
know if
not gonna.
anybody.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna say you're not gonna feel a connection. If I'm out on a date with the guy, I don't care how handsome he is. I don't care how many PhDs he has. He's a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. If he starts talking to me about his late wife, I'm like, you know what? Can we get the check? Can we go? Thank you. Have a nice life. That would be me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it from a man's perspective, and men have even more fragile egos than women do. So why is he gonna want to sit there and listen to her blabbering about her late husband and the 10 years they had, and oh, he was 14 years older than me? Ain't nobody trying to hear that, lady. People
Yeah.
that are widowed, if you're on my broadcast, please, seriously, if you cannot stop talking about your late spouse, you're not ready to date. Go see a therapist.
Right. Well, she claimed that she's been doing the work for 5 years. She took 3 years to really do the work. He's been gone
She
5 years.
she
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 took three
ain't done
years.
no work. I can promise you. Everybody on this show, this is the new thing. I gotta say this. Okay, so pop psychology, right? Everybody wants to use these terms now, like they've been to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, like they done took medication, they done did the work. No, babe, what have you done? Tell me, can you pinpoint? Can you specifically say? And I'm not okay. Like I'm saying this in general now. I'm not just saying this to this one woman, but I am saying seriously. When people say they have done the work, when you say that, I would like for you to enumerate what have you done. Because if you just waited 3 years since your spouse died and you didn't date for 3 years, okay, that's fine and dandy because you were raising your kids. You haven't done any work. You haven't done any work. You've simply lived your life and you've tried to move forward. But what work have you actually done? Have you journaled? Have you been to a therapist to talk it out? What have you really literally done? Nothing, because every date you've been on, that's all you talk about is your husband. Your whole identity is wrapped in this person who is deceased now. You cannot
Yeah,
have a personality and a personhood that's wrapped up in a whole person. I don't care if you were married to that person for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. If you are going to date, you owe it to the person that you are dating. You owe it to yourself to have wrapped up the situation with your late spouse and be healthy enough to go forward. Do you have to forget about them? No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. But you owe it to yourself and to the other person that you claim to have done the work to have literally actually done the work. And I'm not talking about time heals all wounds, because time does not heal all wounds. Time just goes by. That's all it does. Do the work and quit saying you've done the work, because we don't see that you've done the work, because every guy you meet, you're still talking about your late husband.
right, right. Well, time will tell, but I don't think I don't. You know what?
Okay.
I don't think she's ready. I don't think personally. I don't think she's ready. I think she's giving it a shot, but I don't think she's
Yeah.
ready. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because I know I'm tough, and it's because I dated a widower. Okay, it's because of that, and it's because I know how these things can go. But I'm saying for her, perhaps the thing for her to do, if she's actually done the work, maybe the thing wasn't to come on a national, internationally televised TV show either. You know what I'm saying? Because now
hmm,
it's all out there on Front Street.
right, right. And I want to say, hey, Kia. I like Kia's channel. I go to her channel quite often.
Oh, I
And
love Kia's channel. I love
yeah,
it. She does such great panels.
yeah.
And
Well,
Demita
what did you?
Joe, she's trying to get me healthy with her workout and her burpees, but she don't know I'm not doing those burpees, Demita Joe. But go ahead.
Okay, so what about the next situation where Eric's in the kitchen? Are we there yet? When Eric's in the kitchen with the Kia
Yeah, there we can come along to you talking about to the beach house date,
beach house
fruit
date,
fruit
yeah,
mixer. Yeah, the
yeah.
mixer. Yeah.
When Tommy showed up in a turtleneck like it's a winter day. I don't know what Tommy was doing.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with the once again the inconsistency. Like someone was saying that maybe because he was on the water coming in on that sailboat, which it can be, like it can be 15, 20 degrees cooler on water than it is on land on that same day, right? But anyway, yeah, so Dakia, I think that's Dakia that's in the kitchen with the new guy, Eric the chef,
Eric,
right? While he's making
yeah,
the shrimp pasta. Hopefully everybody's got, anybody that needs has got the EpiPen, because I know some people are allergic to shrimp.
right.
But anyway, they seem to be clicking very well. And then in walks who?
In walks your girl, Carmen.
Ah,
Yep.
my girl, not with no blue eyes. She not, but she didn't have
Yeah,
them on today, though. She didn't have them
yeah,
on
yeah.
last night.
Yeah, she didn't have them
Yeah,
on. But,
Carmen comes in strutting in, and like Carmen was like, she was showing that boss persona again. She came strutting
mhm.
in, and she kind of like purposely stood in between Eric and Dakia, like, and like had her boobs all out on display, had opened up her cover up, had her cover up kind of open, like very sexy like, and was just being really like, I mean, any woman would in that position that was in Zakia's position would have been like, "Hey, that's really cold. That's cold how you did that, girl."
Yeah, but you listen. If you're very busty, you can't hide those things anyway. They're gonna, you know what I mean. So they're gonna show. You can't hide those things. So they got what they got. It is what it is. I just think that the kid didn't appreciate the fact that she came in at that moment because the kid was bonding with Eric, and Carmen Carmen Sutra comes in there, you know, and
Mhm.
invade the arena, and turns out that her and Eric really they have a history. Now that they don't have a intimate history, but they have a long history of, in the sense where,
Right, cause she
you know,
right, she hired him for some of her, social events. She hired him to be the chef, right?
right, right.
Mhm.
She hired
Yeah,
him to work some of her events and things like that, and they have a nice history. But he said never on this level. So we'll see where it goes. So
yeah, yeah. She was playing up to that, and to get back to what your comment about you can't hide them. I'm not talking about hiding them. I'm talking about she was clearly displaying them, and she was clearly being flirtatious. And she walked right in and interrupted them. Basically, that wasn't cool. But then again, it's a dating show, so I guess if you see what you want and you want to like break some stuff up and come between it, she has every right.
mhm.
Nobody's tied to
Yeah,
anybody at this point, right?
yeah, but because she's such a boss chick, she kind of bullied Eric into saying she was his number one now. I'm like, how you gonna bully the dude into saying that? And that's basically what she did, you know.
No, she said something about that he sees her. He didn't say that she was his number one. He didn't say that, and she didn't make him say that.
I think she
But she
did.
did. No, I don't know. I disagree, guys. What do you think? Is that what you guys heard? I heard her say to him that it's me, that you're looking at me. So I don't know. Maybe that's what maybe you're right. Maybe she did mean that meant that she was number one, his number one. I didn't think of it that way though.
Hmm. But
I didn't think of
again,
it that way.
yeah,
And
that's
so
what she.
it's Oh, okay, and so oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I just said that's what she forced him to say right before the camera stopped rolling, before they cut the famous edit, so everybody can say, "Oh, it was editing. It was editing." So before they
Mhm.
cut, she made him say that, and the kid was clearing the room by then. She was gone, so I'm not gonna sit here and look at this. So she left.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so okay, what do you think of the scene? You're right, I know what you mean. What do you think about the scene with Precious, when she's now we talked about Precious being very forward. So Precious is talking to the what you call them, the former Marine, which and they're gonna clarify that there are no former Marines. All Marines are Marines. So but
Yeah.
Demetrius. So they're outside and they're talking and she kind of grabs him. And I thought he was very straightforward with her because he basically put her in check and said, if you're still just into that party scene, that nightclub scene, that ain't the thing that I'm looking for. He just told
Right.
her straightforward. Like I was like, wow,
Right. Right.
wow.
Yeah. Well, he
Mhm.
said he told her, I've been there, done that. I'm not looking for that again. You know. So
Right.
again, Precious may be coming along. She keep doing this. You can see her as a bed partner, but not as a long term partner to build something with. That's how she's coming across right now. She'll be a great
Right. Like
intimate partner, a great person to have fun with, but not a person to build with and spend all your time with, and that kind of thing.
right. It seemed very childish and immature. That's what I got out of it too. I I'll tell a story. I would have to do a story time because I would say I once had a sister, and people say you once had a sister. I mean, not like she's deceased or anything to my knowledge, but in any case, she liked to go out 7 days a week, and I just couldn't understand it because she had three kids at home, and I couldn't understand it. Like, why do you still in your 30s? Why do you still like to go out 7 days a week? In fact, I don't even understand why anybody at any age at 20, unless you work in the club and that's your job, but I'm not talking about she actually worked in the club. She just liked to be out twisting. She was a great dancer, so she would be dancing in the club, drinking in the club, meeting men in the club. And I thought, wow, what a waste. That's just I don't get it, but that's what Precious kind of reminded me of when she said, well, she just likes to be social. I don't know if she meant that she liked to be in the club 7 days a week, but at some point, I think if you say, a lot of people have this idea that you can have it all. Well, here's the thing I think. I think that you can have it all, but you're not going to have it all at the same time. So you're not going to be the club party chick and also be the good wife and good mother. I don't think those two things really go hand in hand. That's my belief. You're just not going to do it because if you're in the club all the time, then your relationship with your husband and your children is going to suffer. And I don't think most men really are going to have a wife that's in the club all the time anyway, because they know what goes on in clubs. Men are picking up women in clubs. People are getting drunk and they're having sex in clubs. I mean, it's just a real thing. So I was
Right.
just like trying to really figure that out with her.
Yeah, the two don't go together. Either you want to be a wife and build a home and a nest, or you want to party and club. It's one or the other, but the two don't go together. That's a fact. You know, and I think just Precious is giving off that vibe of, I'm party girl, I'm fun, but not if we're trying to build a business, we're trying to build wealth, we're trying to generate assets. She don't give that kind of vibe off. Not at all.
No, no, she doesn't, which is surprising because once again, I guess we could ask her, then she could be sent home like cornbread because if you're not there for you ready to love, then why are you really on the show?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, you know, I don't think she did it with Laverne because Laverne was so standoffish at this little gathering outside, whatever. Because I think Laverne been doing this since the first episode. Laverne want the women to come to him. Okay, if you
Yes, I see that now. You said that early on when we first reviewed this show. You said that, and I didn't really get that vibe from him, but now I
Mhm,
see it.
yeah, he want to
I
sit
see it
back.
now. He's not. Go ahead.
He want to sit back and be chased, so he can have pretty much his pick of the litter or whatever. Now, according to him, his two top ones are Ace and Joy. Those are his
Oh
two top.
yeah,
Okay,
right, right.
Ace and Joy, but
Okay,
he
you're
still
talking
want to
about
sit
Laverne
back.
now, right?
Laverne, yeah,
Hmm.
but he still wants to sit back and see who wants to chase him. And I think Paul Precious fought for Paul last week. I mean, she fought for him not to be eliminated, and he's not showing her
Right.
the same graciousness with this episode. He kind of
No.
pulled away from her in a lot of ways. If you watch
Right.
their scenes together. So
Well,
I don't know.
do you think it has something to do with the fact that Paul, when she took him on that date that was basically an elimination date, but he wasn't eliminated. He was in the bottom two. I felt like, this guy is so arrogant and got such a huge ego. The very fact, because if you saw how confrontational, we saw last week how confrontational he was with her during that whole date. Well, it's not me, it's them. They're the ones with the problem. These women, they're the ones. And so she literally had to soothe his old fragile ego and stroke him and say, "Oh, baby, no, we know it's not you. We know you're perfect, honey, hunty, 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 hunty," and all that. So I feel like in saying that, I feel like ever since then, she should have known a man like that, he's not going to be able to handle that. So now he's gunning for her because he feels like it was her fault, even though actually it wasn't her fault because she was the one that saved him from elimination.
I think she's the only reason why he's still there.
Right,
And
unfortunately.
but he's not gonna afford her the same courtesy. You know. So, and apparently he didn't. Now, you would think that if she fought for him like that, and a guy like P.O. who swears he always delivers or whatever, if a woman is sexually aggressive, he should appreciate that. But because he's not the one controlling the situation, he pulled back from it.
Right. Exactly. 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 And I wanted to ask him. He said, when he made the comment about her being so sexually aggressive and she's wilding out and this, that, and the third, I wanted so bad for somebody to come along and say, "What, Paul? Are you intimidated?"
Yeah.
I wanted somebody to say that because I feel like you think it's okay for you as a man to verbally and physically use your presence to intimidate smaller women, but now you feel like you're intimidated because she's taking the lead with the sexual talk and the sexual
Mhm.
innuendo. How does that feel, Paul?
Right. And Paul was sitting there like he was feeling the new girl, Christina, even though she's
Mm-hmm.
apparently 17 years his junior, but he
Mhm.
see himself with her. Come on, dude, you don't see yourself with her. Come on, stop playing. You know,
Well, no,
come on.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Hold on now. Even though I don't like Paul, I gotta take this stance. I gotta be balanced. Now, wait a minute. So, wait a minute. Are you saying that you would never date a woman 17 years younger than yourself?
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I
listen,
thought. Okay.
listen.
Mhm.
But there has to be more
Mhm.
to her than just the physical. I think that's what Paul's looking at. Okay, obviously that's what we see first. Okay, but there had to be more to her than the physical. But Paul seems to be such an exterior guy that that's all he's looking at. And since he was rejected very nicely by Sabrina, you know, he's still looking for them young women because of the field that he's in. He's used to young women because of the field that he's in. He's in the rap industry and all that kind of stuff. And that's basically who's always around.
Yeah, that's probably why he's a misogynist too. That's probably why he's a misogynist guy too. So yeah, I see a lot of things about related to the field that he's in, and he's used to he likes younger women, but I think that's fine if that's what he likes. And she did say that Christina, and some people go by Tina, I think also. She did tell him. She sat there and told him that she has always liked an older man. And that's something that I've said too, that women tend to like older men. And there's a reason for that. There's a very simple reason for a lot of women. And that's because the older man will be financially better established typically in most
Right,
cases. So that
right.
makes sense, I mean, but with Paul, because he's not only older, there are some men that I've dated that were older than me, significantly older than me, but they were still on the pulse of what was happening right now. They weren't misogynistic. They weren't stuck in the 1950s like Paul seems to be. Um, but I think that I don't know if she really liked him because we didn't see him asking her those bizarro, crazy questions and being super intense. Like, I think maybe he learned a little bit of his lesson when Sabrina last week dumped him and said, you're not my type. You're too intense, dude. I don't need
Or
that.
or
I'm already a type A person. Who needs
or
that?
the or the way he turned Tiffany off with the crazy spoken word questions and all that nonsense. And hopefully he's getting better week by week. But he still seemed to be a little off putting sometimes with his behavior and some of these questions. So um, I don't know. He's a very strange cat.
Yes, he is. Well, see, I'm not the only one, guys. I'm not the only one. Even my special guest thinks he's a strange cat. Because I think he's beyond strange to me. But
Yeah. And you know what? And then Kia said that she heard him too. That Carmen bullied Eric into saying she was number one, but then told Tommy that the kid was his number one. That kind of put me in the mind of last season's Cornelius kind of thing, with Camille. I'm not gonna keep dealing with these men getting bullied by these women. I
wait
can't
a
stomach.
minute.
I can't stomach
Wait one doggone minute. What do you mean you're
it.
not going to deal with the men getting bullied by the women? But yeah, you got Paul over there practically intimidating and sexually harassing women all episode 2, 3 episodes. What are you talking about?
Did you hear me say I liked it? I didn't say I like what Paul was doing. But I'm not gonna sit around and have no women bullying me into saying this or doing that. No, come on, man. These dudes got to man up.
He did. Oh, okay. Yeah, now thank you. You said the right word because he certainly could have said to her no. That's all
Hmm.
he needed to say to her, but he allowed her to pressure him. I guess maybe it's the business too. You know what I'm saying? Like he still has to eat after the show is over with, right? He still has to. She might be giving him more business to do more chefing and more cooking for him, so he can't forget that. So I think
Aubrey,
that's probably what. Would you think
Aubrey,
so or no?
Aubrey.
What? Yes.
When she forced him to say that, she put them breast images right up under his nose, and that's and that's what made him
She
say, "Oh
does.
yeah, you
She
can do."
doesn't. That her body did the job.
Yeah, she put them breasts right up under his
I
nose.
don't know.
Tell me I'm number one.
Well,
Hey,
okay,
you know,
I kind of do remember her using some physicality on him. Yeah, you may have a point about that, Alex.
I mean,
But again, I
she
still
mean
say a man with integrity would have told her no.
Hey, well, listen. He, I mean, maybe he didn't want to hurt her feelings or whatever. Who knows? But he wasn't being honest because he told her, "Yeah, you're my number one," and then went and told Tommy that the Kia is his number one. And clearly, the Kia is his number one. Clearly, right now. So who knows? And then Clifton and Joy
Mhm.
had a moment where they ran off in the wilderness. It seemed like, I guess, to get some cheap feels. I don't know what they were doing off in that wilderness. Remember, they ran off into the wilderness somewhere.
Well, yeah, they went off, right? Yeah, and so what? So what is your point? That they were making out, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they went off there to make out, get some cheap feels, whatever, because clearly they are each other's number one as well. I mean, they're entertaining other people, but they're clearly each other's number one.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you. They have a great chemistry though. We can actually literally see their chemistry on screen, and that's hot. That's really hot.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can
Paul,
feel them really liking. Go
look at
ahead.
this. Paul and Precious will make a good couple. That's what Miss Creative says. What do you think about that? Paul and Precious.
I don't agree, Miss Creative, and I'm kind of like a little stumped because just before that you said, "Let me put this on the screen." So so here you say, "I never understood dating a man old enough to be your father." Okay, so how old does a person, how much older than you does a person have to be in order to have been your parent? A generation of like 20 years, maybe 15, 16, 17 years, because we know teenagers do have children, so that could be somebody's parent in another 20 years, right? You would be, that person would be 20, and that person that had the child would be 37. So like
Mm.
there's a gap supposedly between them. I think, what is she, 34, and he's supposedly 48. There's a 14-year age gap. That's quite a large age gap. So to me, he could be her father. He could have been her father. But
But you
what I
know,
will say though is that if you meet somebody that you have enough chemistry and enough in common with, because the greatest love of my life was like 16 years older than I was. So I'm that's what I can tell you right there. And it's
yeah,
different for everybody, but he wasn't an old guy. He didn't think like an old guy. He wasn't stuck in his generation. He was very open to things as they were going along in the world, as things were changing for women and women empowerment. He was very open to that. So he was never like a person that would stifle me in any kind of way. But Paul and Precious, no, I don't think they make a good couple. No, I don't.
yeah, and
I
you know,
think,
for me,
go ahead.
yeah, it's like, for me personally, from 2020 into 2021, maybe about a 10-month span, I dated a woman 12 years my junior, and we had a great relationship, but she was a bit of a control freak, and she had some insecurity issues and things of that nature. So um, that's why that didn't work out. But I'm not old enough to be her dad. It's a 12-year difference, but the maturity level was definitely a lot different with me than it was with her. You can clearly see that in the way we conducted our lives and conducted ourselves in a relationship structure. The maturity levels were different, you know. So that could be a thing. That could definitely be a thing.
Well, so okay. I'm not going to get into that. I was going to ask you something about the 12-year age gap, but then the thought just kind of, it's okay. Um who is this over here talking about? Is this the Meter Joe? She's laughing.
Mhm.
And and then somebody, Miss Creative, she says cheap feels. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The thing with Precious that scares me is that Precious doesn't seem to be enough into herself to be self-developed, as a person, to be with a guy like Paul. Because here's the thing about Paul, we know that Paul is very controlling. So it would be like me saying, for my daughter, for example, I would want her to be with a man much older than her, who was also happened to be, as a character trait, was very controlling. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work, because at the end of the day, he's going to steal her youth, and then when he gets tired of her in another 2, 3, 4, 5 years, she's going to be out there, back out on in the market, that much older, and she's still not going to know who she is. She needs to discover who she is first before she really mates with somebody that is that controlling. She doesn't need that, in my opinion.
if he doesn't knock her up first. Because remember, Paul says he wants children at
What does an
48.
old fart like him need? What does an old fart like him need to have children for? He's already got two adult daughters. What's wrong with him? Oh, he's trying to have a son. Is that what it is? Because I've
Maybe, I
heard him
guess.
say on his IG live that he already has two adult daughters. So why do you want to populate the earth, sir? There are other people out
Mm,
here that's still waiting to have their first child. You want to have
mhm,
more children? Why? Why?
mm.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but what do you think now about the eliminations when Tommy came in? What are your thoughts about that?
Um Oh, okay, Miss Creative. I just wanted before we go to that, Miss Creative had a point. She was saying 17 and up. Yeah, 17 and up. I agree that would definitely be old enough to be somebody's parent because you could be out there having a baby and a child at 16, 17,
Yeah,
18 years old. Precious
yeah.
is not 45 though. Precious is 34. She's the second youngest person on the well, they just added Tina now, but before they added Tina, the two youngest people were Wiley at 32 and Precious at 34. And that's why I never could understand why Precious never made, well, I guess I can't understand why Precious never tried to talk to Wiley because he's half her size. Like Precious is very tall. I think like 5'10", and then she wears like the 4-inch heels which puts her over 6 feet. And Wiley clearly isn't 6 feet tall. So but no,
Yeah,
Precious is only 34, dear. She's not 45. Regardless of what that wig is telling you, that wig is making her look older. Really, seriously.
and
I'm
Sabrina,
sorry, you.
and
Mhm.
Sabrina is 36. So
And so yeah,
yeah,
Sabrina's young too, right? But she clearly likes an older man also. She likes
right.
what is it? She likes Demetrius, and did she like Tori a little bit? I think he's kind
Well,
of her age.
Tori, yeah, Tori and Demetrius. If you see in the trailer from next week how there's going to be some beef going on between them over
Uh
this
oh.
because yeah, because she can't make up her mind, and that happens. You know, they
Right.
they they're supposed to be playing Truth or Dare next week. That's going to get a lot of people in trouble.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can see that coming up because I think some of the women and maybe some of the guys may have, two people that they feel equally attracted to, equally as an attachment to. So,
Right.
but now let's get to the guys have got to pick the two women that are at the bottom. And
Hmm.
who ends up in the bottom this week?
Well, AP Austin and Precious, and
Mhm.
I think AP ended up in the bottom because everybody that sat with her, although they acknowledged the fact that she's a very nice woman, a very beautiful woman, they couldn't get a connection with her. And
Right.
I don't think they can get a connection with her because I think she's still not over the passing of her husband. I just don't think she's past that. That's just me personally. Okay. As far as Precious being on the chopping block, I think over sexualizing herself with everybody turned everybody
Mhm.
off, turned everybody off instead of turning them on.
Absolutely. It was too much. It was too much. It was unladylike, in my opinion. I know, guys. I'm old fashioned. Don't come over here if you don't want to hear old fashioned. But it was unladylike. It was too much. I mean, I think that there are things that she said that you could say to your man, but to a man that you are dating who is not yours, you have not established a clear cut relationship, and then you're doing it to all the men, makes you look kind of cheap.
Hmm.
And the truth be told, there are no men that I know of, even the low down dirty types. They don't want a cheap woman for their woman. They might want you for a night in the bedroom or a few hours, but they don't want you to be their woman, right?
Right. Right.
So, oh, but I want to say Demita, she said that she thought I thought so too. I thought that Precious should have talked to Wiley because who is the guy, the comedian, the short, dark skinned comedian guy? He's married to a woman much taller than him. Is it
It's
Kevin Hart?
about Kevin Hart. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's married to her, so and he don't have a problem with it. I've dated guys that were shorter than me. I don't have a
Listen,
problem with it as long as they don't have that Napoleon complex. When you run into them that have that Napoleon complex, it's a deal breaker. Forget about it.
Aubrey, truth be told, how difficult can it really be to be taller than Kevin Hart? That's not too difficult. I think I think I think my 11-year-old daughter is taller than Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's a short
I,
dude.
I know, but what we're talking about Wiley and Precious is what
Mm,
I just used him as an example, but I don't know how tall Wiley is in real life. Wiley,
but,
here's the thing: Wiley could be like 5'7" or 5'8", which doesn't make him
mm,
a midget or anything, or a little person. I'm sorry, a little person. But
mm.
the fact that Precious is as tall as she is for a female, that's tall. She's like 5'10", and then she loves to wear these 4-inch heels, which puts her clearly over 6 feet. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. She probably has had a difficult time dating as a woman. If she wants her guy to be 6'5", I mean, that's a small percentage of the male population is that tall.
And I'm wondering what happened to Precious and Tori's connection from episode one. They had such a strong connection in episode one, but now he's kind of, deviated over to Sabrina, and Precious is all over the place. So I don't know if they're going to revisit that connection or not, but they had a pretty strong connection in episode one.
Who did? Who had a strong connection?
Precious and Tori.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, but you know what? Okay, like I'm gonna say this. Yeah, I saw that. I remember that from the mixer. They were talking and they had a very long conversation. They seemed to click. But the thing about that was, and this may be her. This may be where she needs to open and free her mind, because what I saw, like you to what you said, yeah, they would have made a stunning couple together, because I think he's very handsome. She's a very pretty young lady. But here's the thing with that though, they quickly friend zoned, and I think it was probably more her than him. She friend zoned him because once they discovered that they had in common that trauma about their mothers not being close to them and being estranged from their mothers, both of them, that became her friend. And she said it on the episode, that first episode. She said, yeah, basically, I forget her exact words, but I'm paraphrasing here, but she basically said, that's my buddy. So that's not somebody that she wants to talk to romantically. And I think that
Right.
was all on her. But you have a good point though. Why not? Because I think that could work. He's closer to her age. He's very attractive, very handsome man.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It,
I'm laughing. I'm sorry because Demita Joe just said Wiley would have climbed that tree talking about
yeah,
Precious. I believe he would have. I think he
yeah.
really likes older women, and I think he likes women. He likes being challenged by a woman that kind of a challenge. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that would have been something, but I don't know if I would put her with somebody that much shorter than her. But I definitely could see her. I think that she should explore it a little bit more with Tori. See, I think the thing happens that people come on this show and they say, "Well, I'm going to try something different because clearly what I was doing in my dating life in the past has not worked for me, or what I did in my marriage or whatever, right?" But then they come on
Mhm.
this show and they do the exact same thing all over again.
Right, right. But I
You
don't
know.
think that I don't think that Precious is going to be sent home. Honestly, I think they're going to send AP home because AP
Okay.
had AP had 3 dates. She's talked to several of the men. She hasn't had one solid connection. So I don't
No,
I don't
she
I don't
hasn't.
I don't think she's going to stay. I don't think the love of her life is there, and I don't think she's ready.
I agree. I agree. I think she probably. Well, wouldn't it be something? What do you think about this though? It's been mentioned because the show has a history of pulling a double elimination. Wouldn't that be something that they eliminated both of them?
I would be shocked if they did that. I really would. I think that they should give Precious an opportunity to revitalize her image moving forward. That's what I think. That's what I would like to see happen.
What is
For
she?
her,
Is she needing to revitalize her image, or is she just needing to date better? Is that the same thing for you? I'm not following.
we need to tone it down a little bit because right now the image is of the sexualized party girl, and I don't know if she was going for that, but that's what it is right
Mm.
now. You know what
Oh,
I
okay.
mean?
I see what you're saying. The sexualized party girl. Okay. You know what? And you bring up an interesting point, Alex. Here's the thing. So when they did the elimination and they did it in public like that, rather than the typical way they do the elimination process when they go on individual dates, right? And that person now has someone in front of them to provide them with information about what they've been doing wrong on their dates, right? But they did it in public, and they gave neither one of the women got any feedback. So I feel like that's not really helpful because they don't discover until maybe once they go home months later why they were actually eliminated.
Hmm.
They don't
Right.
discover that. So like to what you're saying, for example, about Precious, that she comes across as a party girl, overly sexualized party girl, very aggressive or very assertive. Um, that doesn't get told to her. She doesn't see that until months later. So I didn't really
Right.
like that they did this in public, the way they did the eliminate or the calling the two women to step forward. And then what I really don't like, but it's a teaser. It's a teaser for sure. Um, we got to wait till next week, the beginning of the episode, to find out which one of them was eliminated.
Right. And they did a good job during the trailer not to show either one of them. You know, so they did a good job. If you notice,
Mm.
yeah,
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point because in past, sometimes they would leak it through the, like you said, the trailer, and we would see the person is clearly still there, so we knew it wasn't them. Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Who do you think? Let's look forward now. Who do you think for next week? So the men will be on the chopping block. Who do you think are two that might fall in the bottom for next week?
Oh my goodness. Well, if AP is gone, just talking about the two men, right?
Yeah, I'm
Um,
talking about men because we'll be on the women will have the power next week to eliminate.
right. I think Paul's going to end up in the bottom again,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly Tory. And the reason why I say possibly Tory is because if he cannot deal with Sabrina's interest in Demetrius, if he can't deal with that, then he's going to have to go ahead and go about his business. Because if he gets too fixated on Sabrina and there's nobody else for him, and she's fixated on Demetrius, then there's no reason for him to be there. So I'm going to say
Who is
either
that? Hmm.
Paul or Tory.
The two of them will probably fall in the bottom next week. So you can say Paul and Tori because it's
Yeah,
the two
Paul.
in the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Okay.
What would you say before we close?
Yeah, I think, yeah, Paul. I'm always putting Paul in my bottom. He'll be in my bottom until the show is over this season. Paul for sure because of the way he treats women, the way he asks those stupid questions, the way he comes across as trying to be intimidating as if that's a good thing, the way he comes across as being misogynistic as if that's a good thing. Um, and who else in the bottom? That's a good question. I guess I'm gonna probably say now, unless the new girl Christina, aka Tina, unless she really likes Wiley. Um, but you know what? I'm gonna X that because I know just in my mind the other workings of the show. He's never gonna be in the bottom. So now we'll keep him away from the bottom for right now. Um, so yeah, Paul and hmm, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's your question. So, mine
Not
is
Donovan, not Donovan, because he's so handsome. He's super super handsome.
not
Um,
Laverne. Laverne ain't going nowhere.
And Demetrius, sadly enough, because he's another one. Not that I dislike him, but I just see him as being dry. So I'm trying to figure out what is his purpose on the show. But he's
Mhm.
gonna be vying for little Sabrina's attention. So not him. She's not gonna let
Mhm.
him go. So who else is there?
Mm. There's the big teddy bear. He's not going nowhere. There's Clifton.
Oh
Clifton's not.
no, he's a favorite. He's a crowd pleaser because he pleases me, so I'm not letting him go anywhere. I would be fighting
Yeah,
people for that. No,
yeah.
Clifton's not going. I don't know. That's
Mhm.
okay. All I can say is Paul. Put Paul on the list twice and then just eliminate him one time.
Put him
But
on the list twice.
oddly enough, I know Paul's not going anywhere either because we see that in the trailers. Paul's gonna be there.
Right, right, right. So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I think Precious is going to be there. So and the
Hmm.
same thing. So you know, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Come the first 5 minutes of next week's episode. You know
Oh
how we
yeah,
can.
I will definitely be. I'll be watching. I'll have my snacks, my popcorn, and my glass of wine, and I'll definitely be watching. And I know you'll be watching too.
Oh,
Anything that you want
absolutely.
to share? Anything you want to share with our viewers about your current projects while we have them?
Yeah, well, I would definitely tell everybody hit the like button, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Share the video after we go off live. Feel free to share it with your family and friends. But my
That's right.
my comic book project is really coming along great. I'm loving it. I'm proofreading now, going over a lot of things. My recent film project, I have to write a treatment for that now. It's the business of entertainment, show business, the operative word being business, because if you don't take care of your business, there'll be no show. So, so we're into that right now with this new film project. And
Hmm.
of course, I'm looking for a duplex to purchase because I would like to, get into the landlord business. So I just had an increase in my with my mortgage broker. I had an increase in that amount. So a lot of things are going on. I'm just handling business, taking care of business, and raising that big head 11-year-old daughter of mine that I love to death.
Yeah, to life, to life.
Yeah, to life.
Um, yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Tell people how they can find you on social media. Let me see if I can get that in there.
Yeah, on
What's your
IG. Yeah, IG is going to be AW Leath 67. That's on IG. And then on Facebook, you can find me at Alex W. Leath, the same way you see it here on Actually Aubery. You can find me there on Facebook. And yeah, or you can even Google my name and a whole bunch of stuff will come up. So, and whatever come up, don't fault me for it.
Yeah, you know what? But you guys, if you are into comic books, and I'm sure there's some people out there that are definitely into comic books, Alex, I saw the first drafts of the comic book. It is phenomenal. I mean, literally phenomenal. So some of you guys that have been to Comic Con, are into comic books, are into like superheroes, please definitely go check it out. It's so awesome, and we look forward to the comic book coming out and your new film that'll be coming out. And we look forward to this podcast that you'll be building up shortly too. Have
And you
you
know what,
decided
Aubrey?
on have you decided on a name for your podcast, Alex?
Not yet, not yet. I'm still working on that, and I just want to let the audience know that my comic book is about a very powerful woman. I'm enamored with very powerful women. So this character is a very powerful woman. So I think the audience will appreciate this character.
Oh yeah, for sure, and all the backstory. But I'm not going to give any of that away. We'll save that for later when the
Right.
comic book comes out. But we want to thank you guys for being for viewing this podcast. We want to thank you for watching the recorded videos and just supporting this channel. We thank you so much. We're growing to almost 300 subscribers. Those of you that are just kind of out there and haven't subscribed yet, you better get in on it because we're getting ready to be bringing you some great ready to love guests and some celebrity guests, and you're going to have to be a subscriber to chat with them. So join now. Join now. And thank you again for those of you that are supporting me and will continue to support me. I thank you so much. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And we're out.